Many employers are wondering how they can make employee pay for performance real given small pay budgets. Our studies show that some employers are able to do this. I'll share with you 4 key things that employers are doing to make pay for performance more effective and reduce the sense of entitlement. First, use multiple pay vehicles. Many employers try and get too much out of a single pay vehicle like the annual base pay increase. A more successful approach is to use multiple pay vehicles like differentiating the base pay increases, but also using incentive pay, either annual or quarterly, long-term incentives for performance, and carefully manage promotions that only go to high performers. Second, calibrate goals and assessments. Calibration is a process that compares the recommended goals and at the end of the year ratings across peer managers. Calibration tends to raise the level of performance expectations and ratings and prevents rating inflation. Sound performance ratings are the foundation of effective pay for performance. Third, use carve-outs to set aside money for high performers. Carving out is a way of taking a portion of the total budget for base pay, incentives, or long-term incentives to set part of that aside for high performers. Let me explain how this works. Let's say you have a 3% budget for base pay increases. If you announce 3%, most everyone will expect to get 3% or more. That's not really realistic, and that's not pay for performance. More realistic would be to set aside, say, 0.5% or half of 1% for high performers. This means average performers would get more like 2.5%. This would allow you, if you had, say, 25% of your employees being high performers, to pay them up to 4.5% in base pay increase. That's good pay for performance even in lean times. Fourth, create a compensation scorecard. A compensation scorecard is a way of publishing the compensation actions taken by each business unit and comparing those to see if they make sense. This transparency makes leaders more accountable for what they do with regards to pay for performance. You can compare base pay actions, short-term incentives, long-term incentives, and promotions. Let me give you an example. If your organization grew by 5% and had 5% turnover, you might expect maybe 8 to 10% of employees to get promotions. What actually happens in organizations could be very different from that. Publishing it in a scorecard will reveal what's actually happening and if it makes sense given your business context. If you use these 4 actions to create real pay for performance, your investments in compensation will help motivate employees and reduce any negative sense of entitlement. They're easy to describe, but these 4 actions are somewhat tricky to implement. If you'd like to discuss them, please contact us at Sibson Consulting.